Ocean blue, what have I done to you? Cut so deep, yet growing through and through.
This music gets me up for a live VPN show. Randy, how you doing?
Sklarbro Country, we are here, episode 144. We give it to you live via streaming on VPN, youtube.com/VPN.
Watch it. We got a great guest in the studio tonight. Somebody who we've been a fan of, who we've known about, who we've been dying to get on the show. He is part of Veep, which is one of the best comedies on television. His name is Tim Simons. He plays Jonah, the assistant to the president.
If you love this show, you will love his character. One of the best, most complicated comedy characters, because he always comes in with high status.
But he's like, we always describe him as
the lowest
man on the highest totem pole.
That's right.
And he's playing it for all the comedy for what it's worth. He's on the show. Baseball season has started. It's in full swing.
So Racist Vin Scully.
He will be making an appearance. Baseball has started, and of course, they're celebrating Jackie Robinson. So, of course, we've got Racist Vin Scully making an appearance on the show. Very excited about that. We've got all kinds of live shows coming up that you got to check us out on.
We do. I got to tell you that the middle show in Toronto this next Thursday that we're going to be doing in Toronto at the Comedy Bar is already sold out.
Sold out.
Podcast looks like it's filling up. So if you're going to get tickets, don't wait till the last minute. Get your tickets now in Toronto. Comedy Bar Thursday the 25th.
Then the next night, in Ann Arbor's the 26th and 27th.
Two shows. The Saturday night show may sell out over the weekend, so the early show. So get your tickets for Ann Arbor now. Don't get shut out. We want to sell those out, and we want to see you guys there. Then we've got, we're headlining at the Ice House here in Pasadena on May 4th, and then we're going to be in Chicago at the Up Theater. Going to do a live Sklarbro Country podcast up there.
Trying to get Billy Corgan on the show.
I think it might happen. We'll see. He got into like regional wrestling. I want to
wrestle him.
I want to disarm him with my smile.
I want to wrestle him in mayonnaise.
So that's going to be a great show. Van Kirk will be out there with us, so very excited about that. All the shows at the Up Theater in Chicago at the end. Just go to our website, supersklars.com, sign up your email, and that'll send you directly to a page where you can watch a sketch that we did with the great John Doerr.
Right.
Brandon's gotten so big.
Brandon's so big, the CN Tower, he's using it as a toothpick.
Oh, Brandon. He's using it to pick the dirt out from his toenails.
He's so big now, you guys.
He's so big, he's small.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a whole list of Brandon so big when we're there, but check out there's a sketch on there that you can see that was only shown up at HBO Canada.
And you can only watch it if you're on our email list. Before we get into the show, one of the great things about doing a live podcast, it's like radio, we can take callers. We can't normally take callers.
We couldn't normally do unless we specifically said, hey, we're going to be in the studio at this time and call this number, which I guess we could do, but you wouldn't be able to hear it. So for those of you who are watching it live, we're going to try something right now. We've done this I'm going
to turn down my computer and hear my response, okay?
Before and you can't hear it.
Here's the deal. This might be wonderful or this might be a disaster for all parties involved. It's live. That's part of the joy of it. That's why we play the game.
I feel like this is like when a spaceship and docks at a moon space station. Like
even though it's moving slow, you're on the verge of disaster.
Someone could die if this were not to go horribly wrong. But let's try. We got our first caller.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Frank Capello on the soundboard, anybody, if you caught him on The New Girl, he was fantastic, by the way.
He was a stripper, an ice cream stripper. Delivery stripper.
Fantastic. Played it with some pathos. We've got our first caller.
Who's on the line?
Hey, this is Josh.
Hey, Josh. How are you?
Josh, turn down your enthusiasm. We can't hear it on the computer.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'll tone that down for you guys.
Thanks, brother.
How are you, man?
I'm doing well.
First time.
I feel like you don't have anything to say. You just called to talk.
Are you okay?
He just wants to get.
Are you all right, man?
Is everything okay in your life, buddy?
Do we need to form an intervention?
Well, I mean, I'm struggling a little bit. We recently got a new husky puppy, and he's been a little off the wall lately, so maybe that's why I sound a little depressed and just want to talk.
That's okay, man. Hey,
this is where people need. If you're depressed, call in the show. If you've got husky puppy depression
issues,
this is the show.
This is show to work them out. You work out your husky puppy depression issues on this show.
How many times have you thought about giving it back?
Oh, God. I would say at least once a day.
My man.
But it always goes away eventually. But
You're going to make a great father.
You're going to make a great father because as parents to kids, you want to give them away at least once.
Oh, there's
a day.
like 2 or 3 moments where I'll see someone. I'm like, he'd be a good dad to my son.
There's 2 or 3 moments where I see an area that looks like it's unguarded, and I'm like, what if I left my kid there? Like, no one would know. And
then the kid will learn some survival skills.
And then the kid says, I love you, and you forget about it. Am I right?
Exactly. It all just then you just kind of forget it for a little bit, and then the next morning it starts over again.
You wake up, you see your husky puppy licking his balls, and you're like, all's right in the world.
Amen. Where are you calling from?
Actually,
where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah,
Of course you are.
That's what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
man. If this was Loveline, I'd be like, did your uncle touch you?
Yeah, which uncle touched you, and how you doing with that?
I didn't have an uncle touch me, so I guess I lucked out there.
That's good. Do you go to the University of Nebraska?
I did, but I graduated a couple years ago.
Still hanging around though?
Still hanging around.
Still hanging around.
Oh yeah.
You
of
go to
course.
the occasional party?
I wanted to tell you guys that I was a huge fan of United States of America, and I didn't know. Have you guys heard anything if that's coming back ever?
We don't know. My guess.
First of all, great call. Thanks for calling in. We'll answer it, and keep listening to the show. Josh in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Our first call. I love that. As far as we know, we don't know if the show's been picked up or not. My guess is that it probably won't be picked up. It was really fun to do. We love doing it and love the company that did it and all the people involved. If they said, let's do another season, we would do it right away. But right now, we're actually developing a show for TBS, a sort of multicam sitcom show for us.
Not sort of.
No, it is that.
A multicam sitcom.
So if that goes, I feel like that would be maybe even a little more in our wheelhouse than United States of America.
But I'm so glad you like that show and you dug it. We do it for you guys.
Maybe we'll take another call throughout the show. If you want to call in that number
347-514-9653.
9653.
Call in and
you
talk.
You want to talk about the Bears.
You want to talk about the Cubs. You want to talk about the Fire. You want to talk about the
Chicago Sting.
You want to talk about it. You talk about it. We'll talk about it with you.
You want to talk about the ball handling skills of Ty Keogh. We'll talk about it.
You want to talk about Sean Dunston. We'll talk about it. Hey, you know what? This dovetails perfectly into our first story, which
Let's
we have
jump
to talk
into
about.
We got takes, and then we got Jonah from Veep. We've got Tim Simons here with us. So let's get into the takes, then Tim Simons, and then Racist Vin Scully. This is a power pack show.
Now, Randy, I could be wrong, but I think the Cubs are already mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Is that wrong to say that?
Mathematically, they are done.
They're finished right now.
The season just started this week.
So now, in my mind, it's up to the Cubs organization to try to make headlines any way they possibly can.
And thankfully, they are.
They're doing it.
First of all, team trying to push for more night games.
Because I guess they're trying to play under the cover of darkness. They think maybe that could hide some of the errors in the game,
exactly.
hide some of the team's problems.
Crazy things happen in the dark.
We're not going to see how much they're misjudging fly balls. We're not going to see by how far they're missing.
So they're getting blowback from the city. People don't want the lights on. And then they're doing the $500 million renovation.
Which they might be bringing that large scoreboard, which is going to block the view of some of the people who've been getting the games for free from rooftops, and they are outraged.
Well, so they're upset.
They're pushing back. They're
pissing the neighbors off. So good job doing that, making headlines there. Then, of course, there was the Cubs' top prospect, Jorge Soler.
One of their top prospects.
Soler.
He got into a fight after sliding into the second baseman of an opposing team last week.
Solar energy.
Which, by the way, on its own, that's not newsworthy.
Sliding in spikes high.
That happens all the time.
Sure.
Until Soler went into his own dugout, grabbed a bat, rushed the other dugout, and it had to be restrained by his coaches with a bat.
He never swung the bat.
Let's say that.
Let's say that.
And yes, he's on the Cubs, so chances are, even if he swung at the guy, he probably would have missed. But why are we taking it down on the Cubs fans right now?
And Kirk is going to be so mad at us. But he probably broke an unwritten rule.
Well, I think he definitely broke an unwritten rule. You don't bring a bat to a baseball fight.
Just like you don't wear white after Labor Day.
Those are two things you don't do. Just like you don't throw pennies in your shark grotto.
You don't let Oscar De La Hoya into your wife's closet when she's not looking. looking.
These are all universal truths that as humans we understand there are repercussions and repercussions for these
You
actions.
don't bring a bat to a baseball fight.
You're inviting someone to turn on a pitching machine at your balls. That's what you're doing.
From close range.
That's what you're doing. So
both of these problems, though, pale into comparison to the latest nightmare that's coming from the north side. Last week, and we have to talk about this because we haven't really gotten a chance to talk about it. I feel like we recorded our episode so early.
Yes, that now this came out last week. A man delivered to Cubs chairman Tom Ricketts, which to me, Tom Ricketts just sounds like baseball.
Ricketts.
It's like Branch Rickey, only more American.
Isn't Ricketts, if you got Ricketts,
you have to walk weird?
You have to walk weird. You've got
Hi, I have Ricketts.
I have Ricketts. I've got timber in my crutch.
Delivered to Tom Ricketts at Wrigley Field a severed goat's head.
First of all, nice current Godfather reference.
What does a goat's head get delivered in, Rand? That's my question.
It gets delivered in a plastic Target bag. The same one that Clutter Cleaner,
Matt Paxton, who from Hoarders, has told us that Target bags are the number one bag for hoarders to poop in.
And like pooping in a Target bag, I'm sure when the severed goat's head was dropped in, as soon as it hit the bottom of the bag, as soon as a poop hits
the bottom of a bag,
the person doing either will silently to themselves or to no one in particular say, bullseye.
Right on target.
It's just bullseye. Now, for those of you who don't know, this move appears to be a reference to Billy Goat Cianis.
Which is the curse of the Billy Goat for the Cubs. Some of our people...
For those of you who don't know, and again, we educate a lot of our sports fans.
In 1945, Billy Goat Cianis brought his Billy Goat to the Cubs World Series game. Even though he had a ticket for the goat, everything was above board.
Which, by the way, you bring a goat there...
I feel like back in 1945, you didn't need a ticket for the goat. Just bring the goat.
Is that his date?
I don't know.
He would get a lot of crap for that at the gate if that was the case.
Look, I'm going to say this. This is more than just a goat to Cianis.
Okay.
This was a companion. Mm-hmm. This was a sexual partner. This was a gentle lover.
Maybe a best friend.
This is a best friend. And you can't tell someone you can't bring your best friend in.
Okay.
Your best friend not allowed to watch a baseball.
Yeah, okay.
This is America, jack off.
Okay, so Cianis then cursed the Cubs.
To never win again.
So technically, the curse didn't work because they have won some games.
Yeah.
I mean, they were in the World Series.
Yeah, they win almost 2 out of every.
They weren't in the World Series, but they were in the playoffs together.
Yeah, they were in the World. They've been in the World Series.
Have they?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I guess.
They've won 2 out of almost 2 out of every 5 games a year. That's about what they average
in a good year. In a good year, they're 400.
So. This guy kind of does. Who gave him the power to curse people too? It's not like he was a witch. It's not like he was
a regular guy who owned a tavern.
A warlock.
Should he have those powers? Like, should I be able to have those powers if I want to curse someone?
No, you
can't.
I
curse somebody?
You ain't got no tavern.
I ain't got no tavern.
You ain't got no tavern.
I ain't got no tavern.
You ain't got no tavern. Oh!
So flash forward to now and the goat head.
Goat head.
Which, if they really wanted to make it like a Godfather reference, should have been in Tom Ricketts' bed.
Under a sheet at the trainer's table. Like, they should have gone all the way. It's like you're going there, go all the way.
I would imagine that a goat's head would probably be pretty small. I mean,
like
it's not a horse head.
Horse head is probably about this big.
Horse head is like 70% neck.
And it's probably like I'd probably say 80 pounds.
Yeah.
Or, no, that's way too much. It's probably
horse
like 40 pounds.
40 pounds.
Maybe 27 pounds.
A goat's head is like this.
Goat's head's probably like 4 pounds. It's like this big.
30%.
It's like
goatee.
It seems like a good idea. But there was a tire shop on the end of my street when I lived in West Hollywood on Gardner Street, and they had a huge tall sign, and then at the top of the sign, to show they were selling tires, rotating.
Had a regular tire up there.
Were 2 tires, but they were regular tires from the tire shop.
You can't do that.
It looked weird.
That'd be like having a donut shop, a gigantic thing, and then like a regular apple fritter up there.
It looked so small. I was like, you need to get a fake giant tire to show that you're selling tires. It's okay. You don't have to be authentic.
Put a fake goat's head in
Put
there.
a larger than regular goat size head in there, and then we're good to go.
Why don't they just have Billy Goat night at the ballpark?
That would solve it.
One game where anyone can bring his or her Billy Goat for free.
We went to San Francisco. We saw a game in San Francisco. They had dog. Bring your own dog night.
Bring your own dog night.
There were dogs crapping all over the place. It was fantastic.
Some people brought their ugly girlfriends.
Hey,
it was fantastic.
That counts. That counts.
Let them sit in the bleachers.
Hey.
Some of those women were on leashes. I'm just gonna say.
And look, some of those people.
And then when they took the leash off the woman, I said, "That's great that you allow your girlfriend to be off leash."
She's off leash. That's so
You
great.
allow her to be off leash like that.
You have a girlfriend run over here? Look, here's the deal. People were so drunk that night at the San Francisco game that they didn't even know that was a dog. hairy guy. There's a lot of hipsters with long beards. It almost makes sense over there.
Exactly.
Throw some weird.
Is that the shaggy DA? So how sweet would it be if drunk guys were picking fights with the goats?
That would be fantastic. That would finally, I think, put an end to the Billy Goat curse.
And the weird delivery of those sorts of packages.
I mean, it's not. Let's.
None
be
of it's
honest.
going to make the Cubs win.
None of this is going to make this Cubs team win.
They need pitching. They need hitting. Maybe some fielding.
Look, if they don't get any of those things, until then, they're going to be the GOAT of the National League Central. No pun intended / pun intended.
Update on Rodman.
Let's update Rodman. Before
Just
we go
when
to
we
bed.
hoped that Rodman wasn't done with his involvement in North Korea, he rears his gorgeous head again.
Yes.
And the whole situation is still alive. Rodman apparently has told the Miami Herald
Yes.
that he has been approached by the FBI, Jay, to be an informant.
Of course. Why?
Which, by the
of
way-
course, that's something you definitely don't want to keep quiet. Or
Yeah.
it's something you definitely want to let the world know about. You want
Aren't
the
informants supposed to be anonymous? I feel
think
like they're
they
supposed
are.
to be anonymous. I'm sure Rodman felt like if I keep this off of Twitter,
There's no way it gets back.
nobody's
going to
find out about it. So Rodman plans on going back to North Korea at the end of the summer.
You know, Pyongyang in August. That's just
No better place to be on the planet.
Phoenix in August. We will be there.
They parade the missiles through town. Everyone
Yes.
sings the national anthem. The barbed wire fencing on the internment camp starts to turn, starts to rust.
I love
mean,
that
it's
time of year in North
August
Korea.
in
It's so
Pyongyang.
nice.
That's
It's
all I'm going to
so
say.
nice.
Well, as long as Rodman just told the Miami Herald that he will be an informant for the FBI, he should get treated in the same great way that he was treated before when he went over there, right? He should
Yes.
just be treated the exact same way.
Yes.
And if Rodman said it, then you know it has to be true.
Yes.
That's the other thing. No one's like fact checking this. No one's like checking his sources.
I mean, I would very quick. Like there are times where Rodman would say, like, "I'm on the San Antonio Spurs," and we would all be like, "Let me make some calls first."
He'd show
before-
up and be in the layup line, and you'd be like, I don't
How
trust
is this
it yet.
happening? I don't think this could happen.
Rodman, I feel like, is trying to play his life out now
Yes.
as if it's the sequel to the movie Double Team. I know
Yes.
there wasn't a sequel made.
Yes.
If he starts trying to hang out with Van Damme,
Then that's what
that's
he's trying
exactly what he's trying to do.
to do. I love that Van Damme did a movie called Double Team with Rodman and did a movie called Double Impact where he plays twins that were separated at an early
Not
age.
birth. Not birth.
Separated at an early age. So old enough to know that they were
No.
twins.
They separated like a couple
6 months?
Couple months. There's no
7
way they
months?
could have known, but like they definitely had a feeling that there's another person out there.
Yeah, I buy that.
I mean, he's already done.
Totally buy that.
I like he's already done a movie with the word "double" in the title,
Yeah.
and it's like
He should
there's
do
a point in the early
He
90s.
should do a third movie called Double Dipped. I'm double dipping with the double. I don't know. There was a point in the
it
early
was
90s.
as if in the movie going public in the early 90s at one point was like, there's not enough Van Damme to go around. Let's double him.
Let's double down on our Van Damme.
But he's already done a movie with double in the title. Fuck it.
Double him.
Double him.
Give the people what they want. Double down.
Double down, Van Damme it. So the Rodman quote about this whole thing that I love is that he says, I do think that we need, to talk to people that want to harm us.
we need to.
Don't step it up on us.
We do need.
So they got to
come on, I
talk
don't
people
know.
who harm us. So hopefully they won't. Hopefully.
Hopefully they won't.
Don't get all practical on us now, Worm. I thought you were going to change the world, brother.
I might be able to keep folks' heads cool.
Yeah, that's the first person I'm looking at to keep folks' heads cool. Dennis Rodman. Maybe Meta World Peace before him. But
Delonte
Rodman for
West,
sure.
maybe?
Delonte West, maybe Rasheed Wallace.
Rodman. I mean, come on.
You
He's
guys,
your guy.
you guys better calm down or else I'm going to get Rodman.
Things that you've never heard anyone say.
Things will never.
I'll
Hey,
take things.
get
Other
Rodman
things
in-
I've never heard.
Get Rodman in here. We don't want to add fuel to the fire.
Things cool-minded people don't say for 200, Randy.
All right. So he said we're all going to find a way
To keep the peace.
Keep the peace. Peace and love is where it's at. See, I can't disagree with that. I want to disagree with him, but I cannot disagree with that.
Look, there are kids out there who haven't seen Rodman in months.
His kids.
Yeah, when I say there are kids out there, I'm talking about kids. His kids.
How about fixing the relationship with your dad
This is what he's
in the
trying to do.
Philippines?
Yeah.
In the Philippines. I love that he's like, I'm going to be an FBI informant. How about going to fix a relationship with your dad in the Philippines, who he saw at a basketball game that he was playing in the Philippines from the microphone? He was
recognized
like,
him.
There's my dad.
It said, "There's my dad."
That was it.
Like,
And
it
then
wasn't
that-
like a pre-planned event.
No.
They didn't talk or anything.
There's my dad. And Dennis Rodman's dad was wearing a hat that said, I'm Dennis
Dennis
Rodman's
Rodman's dad.
You know, the way a relationship that was going well, you would
You would expect, like, that's all we need. We're good for another 30, 40 years.
Good. Where do you deliver this information to the Miami Herald? Do you know where he delivered it, Jay?
Where did he deliver it? I do not know.
At a gala hosted by two people on The Real Housewives of Miami. So you know it was State Department approved.
I was going to say, is that an official government function?
That's where you announce that you're
I've been watching
an anonymous informant.
Randy, I've been watching way too much Real Housewives, and here's I figured out the formula for the show. 2 of the housewives get into a fight.
Sure.
Then all of them.
One of them says that your kids aren't really your kids.
Right, and the other one said your husband is cheating on you. Then
and the husband commits suicide.
No, that's usually the twist at the end. But no, here's what happens. All of the women gang up on one of the women.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have another party where most of the party is spent talking about the fight. And then other people sometimes come in and new fights come up about what the fight was.
It's like the sun.
Yeah.
Like, you know how like there's an explosion on the sun and it's like so big and then like another kind of minor explosion
That's what happens. So minor explosion. So they're talking about how the fight has changed.
Flares up here and
then
there.
the other woman shows up to the party and no one can believe that she has the gall to show up to the party.
But then everyone's really nice to her.
Everyone's totally nice to her, but then as soon as she walks out of earshot, they call her a bitch.
That's how it works.
Now you don't have to watch any of those shows. I just told you what they all are.
Here's what I'm going to say, and you can start the music, Jay.
Yes, I'm ready to start the
I've
music.
always thought that Rodman missed his calling post the NBA.
Yes.
I feel like he should have written a relationship book about breaking up and quickly finding like new love again.
Yes.
And we call it Rebound.
I love it. I'm in. I'm on board. I want thousands of copies. I want the audiobook. Like I want it all. I want it all. I need it all. I'll take it. Done. Ben.
All right, when we come back, Tim Simons will be with us.
Yes,
You almost said Tim Simmons.
No.
Tim Simons will be with us, and we're going to talk Veep. We're going to talk about how he made Michael Phelps uncomfortable. Again, the phone number to call if you want to is
347-514-9653. We already took one call. A sad, depressed guy who I love from Lincoln, Nebraska, Josh. We'll take more calls. Stay
Your
with
Husky's going to be a good call.
All right, welcome back to Sklarbro Country, live on VPN 144. I'm very excited to have you in here, gentlemen. This is a lovely gentleman. We're fans. He's hilarious.
Tim Simons, funny, from Chicago, on Veep. I love that show, and I love that show is, first of all, like there are billboards all over the place. You get the feeling that HBO is on it.
Yeah, they're on it, but I don't know. I'm always trying to downplay anything.
Yeah,
but they're always on it. They're always on top.
That's
of that
our
stuff,
nature, though. But I mean, look, to me, it shows a sense of support for you guys.
Yeah,
and that
for sure.
show deserves it. It's so funny.
Thanks,
and it's
man.
so good.
Before we get into you and who you are and how you got the show and all that jazz, you had a couple comments on some of the earlier stories we went over. Anything that tipped off a story in your mind?
You mentioned Billy Corgan about
Yes.
coming back to Chicago. I don't know why. There was one time backstage at the Metro that Billy Corgan was standing behind me, but I literally have never seen this person face to face, and I don't know why. I've just been really angry at him for a while.
Why?
I don't know.
We don't.
The music?
Is he as tall as you? You're what are you about 6'5"? 6'4"?
6'5", yeah.
6'5". He's a big guy, right?
He's a big dude, but he's still a couple inches shorter than me, I think.
So you could like intimidate him by getting up in his face.
Are you mad at
could.
his snaggletooth? Because he's got like a bit of a
Pointy
snaggletooth.
tooth.
He's got a little bit of a pointy tooth, maybe.
Do you think he files it to get it pointier?
Probably so.
I'm sure.
He totally files
I
it.
bet
files
he
that.
files a little bit.
Well, I don't want to disparage the guy because I want him on our podcast.
I
so
want him on our podcast. He
maybe
might
we
come
can
live.
settle the beef between Simons and Corrigan.
Simons and Corrigan, or he might want to meet you in the ring. You know, he's doing regional wrestling now.
Yeah, regional wrestling.
Which seemed like a logical choice.
From
Look,
the Smashing Pumpkins to smashing dudes.
right?
Other dudes, balls.
so.
I don't know. What else? Cubs. Sorry, we ripped on the Cubs. Are you a Cubs fan or no?
No, not at all.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
The beauty is, did you grow up in Chicago?
I did, and I grew up in Maine.
Maine.
And then I moved to Chicago after college, and since my wife and I have moved out here, we've been so happy that we don't have to pretend that we care about baseball.
But you did have to pretend when you were in
We did,
Chicago.
absolutely.
Who'd you pretend that you liked? Do you pretend you were a Cubs fan or a Sox
I think
fan?
I pretended I was a Sox fan.
Okay, good.
I definitely
'Cause
went
they
to more
won.
Sox games.
They won. Oh, you
yeah,
went
they
to
won
more
when I was
Sox
there.
games.
Yeah.
They won while you were there. There was like a
beautiful.
perfect game thrown while you were there, I think. No, maybe that happened after
think
you
so.
left.
What brought you to Chicago? Did you do Second City or?
No, I went to the. I was doing like the storefront theater scene out there, like small, like 40-seat theaters where you just weird things, weird plays.
Was it any connection to the? Because there's a great theater scene
Yeah.
in Chicago, Steppenwolf and all
The
that.
Goodman? Is that another? That's another Chicago theater.
And Jeremy Piven's family.
Yeah, they have the Piven Theater up in are they in? I don't know, that place that's north of Chicago.
Yes, Evanston.
Maybe it's called Piven.
Piven,
The Piven
Illinois.
Theater.
Piven,
Yeah,
Illinois. Have you been
It's
to
in Piven, Illinois.
Just
yeah.
everybody walks around and they have Jeremy Piven's face.
Yes,
It's
and it's a fully improvised city. There's a lot of improv. It's a lot of play out there.
It's a loose city.
Very loose city.
Like to keep it loose out by the lake.
Yes, and for many years it was a city right next to Cusackville.
And really
smaller
totally
than and less
overshadowed by
but now it's grown into its own identity.
Yeah.
And we're really proud of everything going on in Pivenville.
It's just,
Piven land.
No, it's just Piven.
Piven, Illinois.
Piven, Illinois. I wouldn't put a land or a ville on it.
But Cusackville is
Doesn't
a place.
need it. Cusackville needed it.
Cusackville
It needed it. Needed it to
And
go
I
strong.
hate that people call it Cusackville. It's Cusackville.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, thank God. Let's talk Veep because
Okay.
I'm loving that show. How did that come about? Was it just an audition, or were you in with those people as they were developing the show?
It was just a straight up audition, and it was the only casting house I was going into. I think I had been into Allison Jones was the woman that was casting it. And
Yes,
I
who
had-
did The Office, and she did.
And she had Arrested
Development.
Arrested Development, The Office, and many, many other
and many other things. And so I think I had been into her office like 5 or 6 times, and
For other things.
for other things, but other small things. And this is sort of the biggest thing that I'd gone in for.
Right.
And honestly, from the beginning, I never ever thought that I would get it, not even for a second.
What was the character description? Because I'm fascinated to know like how much it developed and how much you put your spin on it, and it became what it was. But what was it when you got it?
The character description when I got it was actually a short, fat, bearded guy.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
And I think that in talking to Simon and Armando who runs the show, and Simon is the co-creator, Simon Blackwell, in talking to them sort of as they went on, I think I was the first Jonah in on the first day, and I think they saw it and they were like, "Oh, that was funny," but we're looking for a short, fat, bearded guy. And I think it really was, at least from the way they described it, they were just like they just kind of it just kept going back to the tape, and it was a really flattering thing.
Did you feel good about it when you did it?
I felt great about it when I did it.
You felt like you had a beat on. Did you play him kind of similarly to the way he is now? Like kind of again, I picture him as he's the
Playing high status.
playing high status, but he's the lowest on the high status totem pole.
Yeah, definitely played it high status. I think when I was in there initially, I played it a lot more higher strung.
right.
And I wasn't as smug as he is now. It's a lot more higher strung.
Yeah, there's almost like a casual smugness about him in
Yeah.
the show that I
Except
love.
that I feel like he always, the character, like has prepared how he wants to react to people. So if it's his way, has his way, it'll go exactly the way he planned it in his car when he pulled up there.
Yeah.
But then he gets there and then it all falls apart and you kind of don't know what's going to happen, which is so beautiful that the rug gets pulled out from under him so many times.
Yeah, and we were talking like the high status thing. I have sort of like I always have that line of thinking of like whenever they are rude to me or whenever their
Yeah.
office is mean to
Making
me,
fun, right?
I always take it as that they're threatened by.
Right.
Like it's never that I'm being.
You're not the butt of the joke.
No.
They just feel like they
You're
need
like,
to.
oh, that's a shame. I know.
I
This is
feel
your
so.
complex and
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
out.
This
I'm just, don't shoot the messenger type of thing.
Don't shoot the messenger. Like, look, if I make you uncomfortable, that's not on me. Like that's you have to
you.
go examine your own life.
You have to understand where you are in the pecking order
Yeah.
and then come back to me. But you realize that response is even more infuriating
Yeah.
coming
Yes,
back at you.
it's so great.
And I've made this joke with Julia a million times about how she's completely misinterpreted her relationship with Jonah. Like that she really that there is that mutual respect from her. Like I think he walks in feeling that way. Like we really have a strong relationship.
Right.
And even though it gets rocky, like
Yeah.
there is a mutual
She's just
mutual
like,
respect there.
"Fuck you."
Well, you
Just-
also get this sense that like we never see you in your office. We never see you in your home habitat.
Yeah.
And so we don't know how much you get your shit kicked around while you're over there.
Yeah, that's you're going to see that a little more because
Okay, great.
in this coming season they're sort of in the West Wing
Okay.
a lot more, so you kind of even get to see how he. I mean, if he carries himself that particular way out of bounds,
Can't
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah,
I love that
it.
they had you at a hardcore show, like at last
You're a
year.
speed metal or something like that?
Yeah, it was like I think they were that band was Magruder Grind, and they were a local DC grindcore band,
Yeah.
and they were actually super sweet guys, which
Yeah.
most everybody in that music scene is. They're like the nicest people.
Yeah.
Do you
They're
know
all like-
that, do you know that music? Is that music that you enjoy?
For a little while.
So you understood it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What was so great is you're like, well, that's it. I was watching that and I was like, well, that's an interesting choice that he would be into that. And I thought that's cool, and I didn't even see that coming. It was like out of left field.
ARM in their sort of DC travels, one of the things that they picked up on was that there is, because they are also stressed out, because DC staffers, generally the young ones, are also stressed out.
Yep, they need an outlet.
They need an outlet, and so you will end up seeing these like hardcore and grindcore bands that are made up of guys from Department of Defense and from State Department, like that ends up being a thing. And there it was cut out of that scene, but at one point I described which
from which branch.
Oh, that's great.
That's so
funny. Well, maybe they could go back to it, but I just think that's such an interesting but it makes sense that it's an outlet sort of a thing.
Yeah.
So has it changed? Obviously HBO is such a huge
to be part of a
thing.
a show that continues, that at least runs for. Has it changed? Do people recognize you on the street a little bit?
Yeah, this happened a couple times, and it's honestly like it's a really fun. It's fun when
flattering,
that happens. It's really flattering
because it doesn't ruin your life. It doesn't happen every 5 minutes.
No, it's not, and I doubt it ever will.
And the people that come up to you are actually probably real big fans.
Yeah, they're fans of the show. A lot of them know the show back and forth, and a lot of them are also Arrested Development fans. And so sometimes like you don't want too much attention, so sometimes you just switch it to that. Like I'll just like, hey man, you excited for the new Arrested? The very first time it ever happened. I was walking. My wife and I just had kids. We had twins 16 months ago.
Congratulations.
What?
Yeah.
Are we competing with them? That's my question.
We're cuter than them.
You're much cuter.
Thank you.
Do you
Let's
love
be
us
honest.
more than them?
Yes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
good.
Yeah. Thank you.
As
You should.
They haven't had me on a podcast.
Right.
So
Where's their podcast
where's their
that they're
podcast?
promoting your stuff on?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Is it boys or girls or
one of
boy-
each.
One of each.
One of each. So I was walking them around. I was walking around the Silver Lake Reservoir one day. So I think it was like 5 or 6 weeks into the show. The very first time this ever happened, a guy and I think his girlfriend or wife were walking this way, and I was walking down the hill, and he just kind of looked at me and just went, "I love you." It was like a whispered "I love you," and then it was gone. He was.
It's like he didn't even want his girlfriend to know about it.
Or your kids.
Or he did it in a creepy enough way that it was like, you better step up to the plate, girl.
Or
I love that.
Or in a sense, that was the only way he knew how to come out of the closet to his girlfriend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then you sparked a discussion, and like you broke them up on the rest of that walk.
But at least led him to a life that was more truthful to his inner, authentic self.
Yeah, which is all anybody ever tries to do with a television show.
I love that you have
Thank
that
you.
power, that you're encouraging people to really live in their own skin.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Should we
He
take a
lives
call?
in our house now.
He does live in your house, or in your guest house, with the twins.
Let's
Should we take
a call with Tim Simons?
All right,
Why not?
let's do it.
Let's go. Frank, who are we going to go to right now?
This is Derek from San Francisco.
Derek from San Francisco. Oh, I think I know who it is. It might be our good friend Derek Lipkin, who's our
resident legal consultant within the country confines. Derek, are you there, buddy?
Yeah. How you guys doing?
We're good, man. I watched a San Francisco 49ers playoff game at his house, and his brother, Derek's brother, went crazy and picked up his cousin, who was like, I think your cousin is what, like 82 pounds? Is that right? Derek, are you there? I picked up his cousin. She's like 82 pounds and was like, when they scored, and was like carrying her around like she was the Heisman Trophy. It was truly an amazing moment that I saw a window into their family. I think we lost him.
We lost him.
Hey,
maybe his brother picked him up and carried him around.
up and carried the phone line away.
He got on the thing.
So you have on your Twitter, and your Twitter is at Timothy C. Simons.
Yeah.
You have on your Twitter, you actually have that you, literally in your description, that you made Michael Phelps uncomfortable at one point.
Yes.
What is that? I got to hear that story if that's true.
Well, we shoot in Baltimore, and I didn't know this at the time, but
Baltimore.
In Baltimore. As a
Balmer.
side note, have you ever heard a true Baltimore accent?
Sure.
Yes.
Hey, hon, we're going down to Ocean City. Going to go to Hammer Jackson, see a quarter flash cover band. She plays a piccolo.
Oh my God, that's actually pretty good. The turlet thing.
Turlet, yeah.
The wooder in the turlet.
Wooder in the turlet. It's like
one of
Philly morphing into like down the
Yes.
coast,
Yeah.
Virginia.
Water in the toilet. And Maine is kind of crazy, though, right?
Yeah, Maine's super crazy.
And Bob Marley, the comedian, Bob Marley, has made he lives up in Maine. He's like, he has a cottage industry. And the best place to have a cottage is up in Maine.
They
so.
sell his CDs in every single store. It doesn't matter what kind of store.
It can be a furniture store.
It could be a furniture
Pottery
store.
barn?
I've seen them in gas stations. I don't know if they would sell them in Pottery Barn, but any
I bet
like
they
local
do.
like Rennie's, they're all over Rennie's.
He's like Maine. That's it. He is the man, and I bet he sold like hundreds of thousands of CDs.
at least. I mean, there aren't many Mainers, but every single one I was.
You
owns
have to own one.
You have to.
That's
own one.
part of being in Maine.
He's like mainlined Maine.
Like if
into his body.
you went to Maine and they gave you the tote bag, his CD would be in it.
Yes.
The
Like,
welcome
here's
bag.
The
Here's the
welcome
Maine
bag.
welcome bag.
Here's the we don't like New Hampshire brochure.
All right, so you're in Baltimore, home of
Yeah.
The Wire.
I'm in Baltimore, and I'm at a coffee shop on a Sunday morning. I think we had gotten off set pretty late, and he was standing at this coffee shop, and it was, I don't know, it was early enough.
Yeah.
It was early enough that he was in sweatpants. You know, so like you're not dressed up for the day.
Do you think he was out all night and this is
Partied
where he
and
ended
maybe
up?
hooked up with a girl and is wearing her sweatpants.
Well, there was the girl there.
Okay.
And I think she had her own sweatpants.
All right.
So we were there, and I didn't know that he had grown up there. So I think there was a part of me that did, like, I might not have mentioned it. It was like, oh, well, it makes sense that he's here. I just had that thing. I was like, why is Michael Phelps in this coffee shop?
Yeah, it's
so
and
weird.
so I just, like, reached my hand out and went, are you Michael Phelps?
What did you grab? His arm?
I did like a hover. I did like a hover arm, like an inch away.
like this.
Yeah, like I'm
this.
not.
Are you Mike like this? Are
Yeah.
you Michael Phelps?
Yes.
Oh my
I
god!
love
Like
it.
you're
I'm not-
bracing him. If he were to get hit this way, you were going to catch him.
I was going to catch him. It was like, I'm not touching because that's too forward, but I'm letting you. But there's
I'm
creepily
seeing if there's
hover.
electricity.
Yeah.
Now he's got all 22 medals. He's wearing all of them,
All of
right?
them.
He's
Okay,
wearing
so
all
they're all
sweat
jangling
balls
around.
and
Okay.
22 medals.
Okay.
And he just like of course immediately gets uncomfortable.
Of course.
Immediately. And he kind of mutters and he's like,
You
yeah.
guys are eye to eye. He's 6'4",
Yeah,
6'5",
he's pretty
right?
tall. He's my height.
Right.
And he just immediately gets uncomfortable and he's like, yeah. And I just, congratulations. Congratulations. That is so cool. I'm just telling him it's cool to be Michael Phelps.
Right.
And then, of course, it gets more uncomfortable.
Of course.
You can't
immediately.
leave at that point. 'cause
At that point,
you've got-
you're the guy who said, "I love you."
I love you.
As he was
You
walking
have
past
to
you.
leave on a higher note. We understand this as comedians. If you
You want to
go-
get off on a laugh. You want to
don't-
get out on a laugh.
Yeah.
You can't be down on a weird. You got to get up on a good. So
Yeah.
what did you do to dig yourself out of that?
It never happened.
No, you
never
kept digging
happened.
deeper.
I tried to find. I do what I normally do. I try to find a personal connection. So I'm like, oh, hey man, did you grow up around here? Oh yeah, I grew up in Towson. Oh, that's cool. Hey, where do I go for a drink around here? Like I'm just in town for work. I'm asking an Olympic caliber athlete, and I had forgotten. Like
to
where do you go for
a drink?
booze?
Where does a guy go for?
I'm just in town for work could also be code to I followed you around for the last 47 hours.
Yeah.
That was like
And look where we ended up. Now I'm finally breaking my silence. I was
Yeah.
2 cars behind you for 2 days.
Yeah.
I
So-
watched you sleep.
Yeah,
Maybe you could have said that.
Where do you go for fun? Because I know where you live.
Right.
Exactly.
Because I'll be there 20 steps behind you.
Or where do you go for fun? And he says it, and you're like, no, that's not right because I know what you've done.
No, the inclination I think in that moment is to be like, oh, I'm also somebody who people know.
Yeah. So this is cool, but.
You don't know. I'm on Veep. And he's like, I don't know that show.
I don't know
I
that
did. And then you start naming other
all
weird
the
credits.
things that you've
Yeah.
done. Like
Let me get out my IMDb
What's
profile.
the littlest credit that you've done? Where would like name a
A
credit?
short film that you did that no one would have seen, including the people who made the film.
Oh God, I was an extra in a movie that's shot in Minneapolis about a person who is the best person in the world at karaoke.
Well, there it is. You're like, I was in. Well,
I think it was called The King of Karaoke.
Did you be like I was in the King of Karaoke?
I was in The King of Karaoke.
yeah. So you probably know who I am.
And it was in Minneapolis, and you went to
You went
Michigan.
to Michigan.
So
Also a Big Ten place.
where
Yeah.
can a guy go for flapjacks in this town? Just like literally ask him anything.
He gives me one bar, and I say, okay, cool. And then nothing happens for like 15 seconds. And the girl that he was with has just left.
She's
gone.
out of the
She's just
picture.
walked
She
away.
might be out of the relationship.
She's like, I don't
at
want
this
this.
point. She might be gone. She might be like done with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of you.
Yeah.
So
I've now broken up two relationships.
2 relationships. Yes.
And then the person works at the coffee shop says, Americano for Tim, and I just go over and get it.
Yeah,
And then I walk away. Like it never ends with
there wasn't even a goodbye.
wasn't
All right,
closure.
man. Thanks, bro.
nope.
Thanks,
no
buddy.
closure. You got to close.
No closure.
So we got to close it up with Phelps at some point.
Yeah.
And if we can be the conduit to make that
Look,
happen.
we went to Michigan. Phelps went to Michigan.
If we can close that up for you at some point,
Yeah.
I
you
wanna
should have
close
been
that
like,
up.
hey, man, where can I get some weed around here? That's speaking Phelps'
now
language.
You're connecting with the guy.
Yep. Where can I get a good graphics bong around here?
Then you're connecting
Chief.
with the guy.
I want to take another call because I want to see if this works, and then maybe we'll bounce back and do some quick hits. Who do we got?
Tyler from Buffalo.
Tyler from
Look at
Buffalo.
this. Nebraska, San Francisco, Buffalo. Tyler, are you up there in Saberland?
I am in Saberland, although we are pretty horrible this year, but hey.
Is Dominic Hasek still your goalie?
There was rumors before the season that he wanted to get back in the NHL, and Sabres fans are very sentimental, so there are quite a few fans who are calling for him to come back, but they did not pull the trigger on that.
He strikes me as the kind of guy that, like, at a bar would show that, like a woman, that he could still do the splits. Like, he's going to wear, like, a comfortable enough pants.
Loose enough pants they can pull that off.
Who was their center back in the mid-'90s? Jeremy?
Who was their center back in the mid-'90s that was amazing?
Well, I mean, everybody loved LaFontaine.
Pat LaFontaine.
Or
That's
American hero.
That's French. That's French
we had
for the
McGillney.
film. Yeah, McGillney. I remember that. Yeah, there you go. Jeremy McGillney.
Wait, was Pat LaFontaine pre-Prefontaine or post-Prefontaine?
He was post-Prefontaine the movie, right?
Oh, no, he was post-Prefontaine the runner, but pre-Prefontaine the movie.
I think so.
What's going on in Buffalo and what's on your mind? What can we answer for you?
Well, I kind of have like a little story to share with you guys. It has to do with the Sabres, so I thought I would. It has to do with the podcast too. So
Great,
fantastic.
Bring it up.
So I was at a game a couple weeks back, and Sabretooth starts walking up towards my section, and the woman behind me, I don't know who she's talking to at the time, but she's like, "Tim, Sabretooth ran away with you one time. Do you remember that?" And I don't know if you guys remember on your podcast.
Do we remember the story
about,
where he reached down
and picked up a little person,
picked up a midget, and carried him up
a little person
as if it was a
kid?
kid?
Carried him up, and as soon as this woman said that, I just started cracking up uncontrollably in the middle of a game for no reason.
Sure.
And everyone started turning and just staring at me, and I did look back to see if it was the midget. Maybe the woman was just messing with him.
Was it?
But it was a child. It was a child.
So literally, it was the most normal thing ever, and you're laughing about it as if it's this crazy situation.
You're making him seem like he's got the greatest comedy bit of all time.
So I just thought I would share that. It was hilarious, and
I love it, dude.
Didn't bother explaining it because I don't know how you would explain something like that, especially to a child. There's no way they're going to understand.
No, he's not going to get it.
There's no way he's going to get it.
Kids don't get it.
Dude, thanks for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
Henderson to you. Thank you for laughing it up at Tim's expense. I was hoping that Tim was the name of the midget. I was hoping that we got another piece of information, another corner
So what
to that
happened
story.
was, just to bring our Tim Simons here into it, basically someone who had worked for the Sabres, a woman
was sort of like her job
was to hang around with Sabretooth, who's the
mascot,
the Sabre. And one of the bits that he would do is he would pose with a kid and then take the kid and run up the stairs like he's running away with the kid. And he'd run up a couple stairs, and it was just like, whatever. I mean, it was like good, clean fun. And
mascot jokes, mascot humor.
But the mascot head is very, like, the blind spots are just massive in there. You're looking through, like, the neck, and you can't really see anything. So he looked down and he
took a picture, which was totally normal, with the
saw
little.
What he thought was a kid. Scooped up a little person and started running up the stairs.
Probably with like a 39-year-old guy.
And the more the person and the crowd was protesting, the more he thought they were egging him on to keep going.
We're retelling a bit that made me laugh so hard that I can't breathe, and
the
it's
poor
doing it
woman,
again.
And the poor woman who was standing there is really the face of the organization,
begging
has
this
to
guy
look
to
at this
stop.
grown man and beg Sabretooth to stop. And
he's like, "This is the greatest commitment to this bit ever."
Everyone is giving me.
We're all loving it.
He was in the thing thinking that person was behind.
What if he went to a basketball game and they ended up like those circus dunkers? Like if they like just grabbed him and they were like
and just dunking with him.
They were just dunking.
Oh my god,
that would be crazy.
That'd be genius.
Let's take a break.
All right,
shall we?
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to engage in some quick hits with Veep's own Tim Simons.
We're going to talk about old people on TV. As you are a TV personality now, you remember a time in the 80s, the early 80s, late 70s, where old people dominated television.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Among other things. We got great stuff coming up, and then Racist Vin Scully in the last segment. Again, the phone number, people want to call in.
347-514-9653. I love hearing from you guys. This sounds like Otis Redding, but it is Little Richard. The song is I Don't Know What You've Got, Part 1.
I can't believe he did stuff with little kids. You know,
did.
he just seems like he's got such a good voice. Didn't Little Richard do stuff with little kids?
No, that's someone else.
Okay. All right, we are back. Welcome back, everybody, to the live stream VPN. Go to youtube.com/VPN. I think this episode will be up in its entirety. You can watch like the video portion of this. It's shot very well. Thank you to the VPN crew that's here. Of course,
doing a great job.
Tim
they're killing
Simons.
it.
Tim Simons, Jonah from Veep. You
Hello.
can see him now on Veep. The new season just started this past week.
It's on HBO Sunday nights after
Could you
Game
get a
of
better
Thrones.
slot after Game of Thrones? Are you a Game of Thrones fan?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Crazy,
Yeah.
right? I love Game of Thrones because it is all about the underdog succeeding. Someone was like talking about there's just a lot of underdog stuff. There's like a giant female knight who's like kicking ass. There's a Peter Dinklage's character, speaking of, and then
Yeah.
it's incredible how the underdog survives in this brutal world.
And I liked it so much I started reading ahead in the books. And
Yes.
there is something amazing about the fact that, and so few television shows do this, but they have to stay true to the books.
To the
that,
book,
like,
right.
You cannot get attached to anybody.
No.
You can't get
No,
attached to
everybody
anybody.
is fair game, which
Yep.
is brilliant about that.
It's kind of what I felt the same way when I watched The Wire too. Like you lose people who you're invested in on both sides of it, and it's pretty intense. I love it. And so this
10
season,
p.m.
when your character gets killed in Veep this season, I'm not
Yeah,
giving
yeah,
anything
yeah.
away,
Not
but
giving anything away.
But
by
no,
saying-
I'm definitely dead at the
by a
end of it.
large female knight.
Large female knight.
And then you come back
Makes
as a
sense.
ghost,
yeah, and then come back as a ghost.
as a zombie, and you start eating
McClintock, Mike McClintock.
all the male
Matt
babies.
Walsh's characters.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Fantastic. I love it.
Let's do some quick hits, shall we? Frank Capello on the zeros and ones.
Live quick hit music. There it is. Someone actually tweeted to us that this music from like a Talib
Quelly?
Quelly song. Thank you. Let's get into this. Remember when old people were all over TV? Do you remember that? There was a time in the late 70s and 80s where there was just old.
Like every show was populated by the oldest people on Downton.
Rockford Files,
right?
Yeah.
Murder, She Wrote, Falcon
Like
Crest.
Falcon Crest had like whole scenes with people who were like 60 and up.
Yep. Matlock, just old dudes solving shit.
Matlock's still good.
Still
it
good?
still
Holds
good?
up?
Holds up.
Holds up?
I'll sit down and watch Matlock.
Nice.
There's a specific one where he gets really mad about he makes so much money and he takes this woman to small claims court because they messed up his like extra refrigerator's cord and he wants to be reimbursed for it.
Old people
Love it.
problems. It's
Old people
literally like
problems.
old people problems. So like that's what we're getting into here.
You down with
OPP.
OPP?
OPP.
Yeah, you know me.
Old people problems.
And that's part of it. I mean, part of the whole thing was like Miss Marples as like a detective, like
They either
people
solved
just
crimes, spent money, or found oil. Those are the three things the old people did all
people
over TV.
underestimated them. So you got like the double whammy of getting caught
By an old
and then
lady.
by an old lady.
Yeah.
She can't do that. She can't. She's not going to be quick enough to catch me. Oh, shit.
Boom, sucker. Wrong.
Wrong.
You just got nailed by a woman who's
Busted.
probably bought Fixident.
And on Murder, She Wrote, I mean, that takes place in Maine.
Yeah,
The
it's-
fact that they were ever, the best thing that show ever pulled off was that they ever convinced you that many crimes happened
In Maine.
Nothing happens. We actually made the police blotter when I was a kid.
Did you really?
We were making a little movie, like me and my friends in high school. We threw a dummy off a bridge. We made the police blotter.
No.
They're like, we need to
That's
get
Maine.
something on this blotter. We need to start filling the blotter because
Yeah.
people are like, there's nothing coming in on this blotter.
Let me put it to you this way: Too Close for Comfort, the show that was with like Ted Knight and Jim J. Bullock and the two hot girls. That should have been told from the girls' perspective. That was told from Ted Knight's perspective. He's like an old man who's a cartoonist who's just happy that he's having a second shot at life, a career where he gets.
That's how much old people are in the heart of TV back then.
Then old was the new back then,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then old people started saying things that made them seem kind of old,
Like
You know,
Jimmy the
Greek,
Al Campanis, Howard Cosell, they all said the weird, racist,
things
anti-black
that like
thing.
only guys should be saying around the bridge table or the locker room when their
Yeah.
wangs are hanging out. usually at both.
Except these dudes did it on television.
Yeah, and that
everybody
came
heard
from that old school world. Like if you go back and you watch like the Dean Martin show where he's just smoking by the piano and just saying racist things. Like they came.
Well, they were
from
like,
that
we can
world.
do that because we got Sammy Davis right over here.
Yeah.
So we're there ribbing him, and he's right over here, but he's in our pack, so it's cool. It became in language for them. But yes, there was lots of racism.
And
just
so
tossed
occasionally you'd be reminded that just because old people have lived a lot doesn't mean like we got to put a microphone in front of them, or that they have wisdom. You know what I mean? Just because you've lived a long time doesn't mean you've accrued any wisdom. You may have not been paying attention.
And if you don't believe us, look at Sir Sterling Moss.
The Randy Moss of Formula One drivers. He's a British Formula One champion from years ago. So Sir Sterling Moss
this past weekend
said that he wasn't surprised that there weren't more women drivers in Formula One because they lack the mental strength to compete.
He's single?
Yeah, he is now. I don't know.
Look, I get people saying to Mark Cuban, look, man, Brittany Griner can't play in the NBA. She's going to get knocked around. It's not going to... I understand.
She doesn't have the hops to play in the NBA. I don't care if she's 6'7". You got dudes who are 6'7" who can jump out of the gym.
That's quantifiable in some way.
But I think I will say, like, on the other side of that, I think it'd be awesome if she showed up. And I love the fact that she was like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You know?
She was ready to go.
Yeah. And she should. And you know what? I actually would be like, let's put it into play and then either prove it or disprove it in the most real way possible. Like, let's put her on the court and let's see if she gets work.
By the way,
then
what's
we know.
the worst that can happen? Then she just goes back and she plays and is the number one player in the women's league. And then said, I tried it. I went in there. So this is one of those times, though, when you got to say, like, all right.
Who thought it was a good idea to stick a microphone in an 83-year-old man's face?
Because he kept talking. Like, you know, in the way people continue talking when they
like
think
you
that
in
they're
front
right.
of Phelps.
Yeah.
No, like you in front of Phelps.
You were kind of like,
keep digging. Keep digging me deeper.
Was he
into
hover-handing?
He hover-handed the situation.
Hover hand might be the name of this episode.
Hover hand.
Right.
Moss went on to say that women have the physical strength. That
he was giving in.
That was him giving in. That
He's like, look, they got the physical strength,
but they lack the mental ability to hack wheel-to-wheel driving.
Well, that makes no sense.
Now, granted, this is a guy who grew up with the notion that women are crappy drivers.
Yeah,
that's like
women are Chinese drivers to this guy.
Right. So
and I'm not trying to be racist, but that's what he's thinking.
Yeah.
So Moss then went on to say, after nobody stopped him, the mental stress I think would be pretty difficult for a lady to deal with in a practical fashion. I just don't think they have the aptitude to win a Formula One race. And then I bet at the end of the statement he ended with a, "Am I right?"
Come on.
Who's with me?
Boys, who's with me on
Fellas,
this one?
back me up on this.
Like a cab driver who tries to rope you into his racism.
By the
I'm
way,
sure you've been in that situation before.
By the way, driving is the one sport that women can do. You know what I mean? Like the equipment itself is the thing that is your star. You know what I mean? It's like horse racing. Like a woman could be a jockey.
Women could definitely be jockeys. They could definitely be jockeys.
I know it takes strength and I know whatnot, but like if you're light, a light woman and a light man, strength-wise, would probably be pretty similar. And a guy who hasn't eaten a meal for 8 days and a woman who maybe could eat.
Look, she's nourished. She's 4'10".
So in this situation, he thought that this was cool. He kind of took the little person and ran in this.
Yes, essentially, he took the little person and ran with it as much as he can.
By the way, speaking of NASCAR, did anybody find it ironic that like a guy shot and killed himself at an NRA-sponsored NASCAR event on the infield?
Look, no one could pry the gun out of his cold, dead hand. I mean, I guess they tried.
I wonder if he shot himself in the family section. That would have been appropriate, I guess.
That's so weird. It's so inappropriate or totally appropriate.
By the way, if you can't bring a gun to a NASCAR event, what event can you bring a gun to? Like, you can't bring it to...
the outdoor games.
Cricket?
Maybe, I don't know.
Ultimate Frisbee?
There is a game there is like an Ultimate Frisbee-style Frisbee golf game that's with guns. Now, and they have like longer range guns. I don't know if you have caddies, but someone was just telling us
maybe
about
a
this.
gun caddy. That
Like a gun
I
caddy.
need a rifle to shoot at that barrel of it. It's like Frisbee golf. I don't know if you ever played Frisbee golf.
Yeah, well, of course, but
Frolf.
Of course. Frolf. Of
course.
course.
Yeah, you're like, who hasn't?
Did I just ask him a ridiculous question?
How dare you ask?
Jesus.
Of course you can. Of course.
By the way, we did a show on ESPN Cheap Seats, and there was a guy we were watching an Ultimate Frisbee show, and there was a guy by the name of Ken Dobbins who was like, took the thing so seriously.
So seriously.
He had like a phrase like, it's FCU, it's ICU.
Which we still don't know what that means. It's FCU, it's ICU.
I don't don't know what that means.
I've been to the high, like the regional championship. It was the highest level ultimate frisbee. I had some downstairs neighbors in Chicago. One of them was the captain of the Chicago Machine. I went to unbelievable to watch in person. Unbelievable.
Great athletes.
Great athletes.
There was a
This guy's one of the best ever, and so he
Yeah.
was just interviewed in a Canadian publication, and like we took him to task, like because he was like, "This isn't a game, it's your life. This is your life. This is your life." Anyway, so
Ken Dobbins.
they asked him, the interviewer asked him, "You got some ribbing on ESPN about when they re-aired your thing," and he actually took it in stride. He actually took it in stride, and like a long pass, like you're gonna get. He actually took it in stride.
Kudos to you, Ken
Kudos
Dobbins.
to him, Ken
He
Dobbins.
took it
So
in
I feel
stride.
like.
Good job.
My man, he did. This guy doesn't seem like he would take anything in stride. This NASCAR guy.
But by the way, I hear about someone getting shot at shooting themselves in a NASCAR event, and my reaction is, yeah. It's not oh my God. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes
I-
sense.
my first question would be, why didn't that happen
Sooner.
at all the other ones?
By the way, in 2008, at a NASCAR event, someone shot a gun in the air, and the bullet came down, went right through an RV, and grazed someone's shoulder.
Really?
Bullets come down.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't just
They don't
get
just go up
lodged
into
in
a cloud.
Like I know that in the, I mean, I don't know, when like when Saddam Hussein would have big rallies,
Yeah.
that was a big thing. Like 8 people would die in every
Because they
single one of
fired-
those rallies because everyone would shoot up
Fire
in the air
straight
and
up
just
in the
all
air
come
and it
down.
come
Comes
down
back
into a
But
crowd
by
of
the
people.
way, a gun fired at a NASCAR event that the bullet then goes through an RV and grazes someone's shoulder. Is there anything more NASCAR than that?
That feels
that
very
pretty much
NASCAR.
sums up the entire experience.
And we don't want anyone to die. That's the thing. I don't want anyone to die.
Especially
I'm
Kenny
against-
Chesney, he'd probably be there.
Yes.
What if Kenny Chesney died?
It would not be a good day. It would
I'm
not.
curious to hear how the NASCAR community is taking Sir Sterling Moss's comments.
Yeah.
Because I don't think of it as a particularly progressive community.
Although there was I saw Real Sports, this week's Real Sports, there's a woman who they're trying to create as a sensation in the pits. The first pit crew woman ever. She's like a CrossFit champion who they brought in. This girl, Christmas Abbott is her name, and they're trying to bring her in and make her like the new face of like pit crews and turn her into like some
which I'm sure the
superstar.
pit crew people are really happy. It's like when Garth Brooks like came in to play baseball for a little while.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, all right. Master P tried out for the NBA.
I think they're fine with anybody that's attractive. They'll accept. If it was like an ugly woman trying to drive a car, I'd be like, no, she can't do
Forget
it.
it. Can't do it.
Not gonna
Can't do
happen.
Can't do it.
Now I don't know if you are you a golfer? Do you play golf?
Once every 2 years.
I imagine you would have a sweet swing, very smooth.
I do okay.
Lefty,
All right,
or,
look-
lefty or righty?
Righty.
Righty.
Now that you have twins, you'll never play golf.
I'll never
again.
play
Forget
golf.
that.
Yeah.
Never
Especially
again.
with their
You're
age.
twins and you're working. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's
So
no
I'm
way.
out of town, let alone. So I don't know if you caught the Masters this past weekend, but
All I know is that everybody started telling Adam Scott to take his shirt off. I just assumed that they were all talking about Adam Scott from Parks and Rec. I
Yeah.
didn't know,
not
like,
that
what-
Adam Scott.
Different Adam
Yeah.
Scott.
We'll get that Adam Scott on. He apparently does not like the regular Adam Scott.
Yeah, they have a beef.
I mean,
with each
he's the
other.
nicest guy, but I love that there's a beef with.
I think there
I
should
want
be
to
a
start
beef.
a beef.
Let's
It's
start
kinda
a
like
beef.
the John Daly
And John
comedian
Daly.
John Daly, and then
There are a lot of comedian actors, comedic
Golfers.
actors, golfer combinations.
Have they ever done like a pro-am with that in mind? They just get like a
should.
matching name.
Have you guys ever
celebrity?
seen? Have you ever seen Fuzzy Zeller do stand up?
He's so
The
funny.
comedian Fuzzy
Not the guy Fuzzy Zeller. He's a little racist, but he's funny.
So Tiger Woods' girlfriend Lindsey Vaughn's ex-husband Thomas Vaughn apparently watched the Masters.
Yeah, he watched that sucker super
kept the name?
closely. Yeah, she did keep her name.
The name.
She did.
He watched it so closely that it showed us that he was over the fact that they filed for divorce in 2011, and then it just finalized this year.
Yep, totally over it.
In fact, he's totally
Totally
moved,
moved
he's
on.
moved on this one.
Yeah,
he's
he's moved
even
on.
okay with Lindsay moving on and dating Tiger Woods. I mean, Thomas Vaughn, an avid downhill skier, probably every year watches the Masters close enough to determine any infractions that maybe
Like if a
someone-
player broke a rule, he could call in the
He would
infraction
call
to
in the
tournament
infraction, which,
officials.
by the way, people do.
Why would this year be any
Why would
different
this
than
year be
that?
It
any
just so
different?
happens that this year his ex-wife's new boyfriend did commit one of those infractions. Okay,
And
he
due to
he chipped a ball into the pond and then he took a drop 2 yards behind where his original divot was, which you
Yeah.
can't do.
Which is a no-no, and someone called it
Here's
in.
where it gets fun.
Someone called in the tip.
Yeah.
You know about this,
I know
right?
about that,
You
yeah.
know about
So
all
Thomas Vaughn then tweeted this hilarious tweet, and this is really a tweet. He said, "No problem, Masters tournament. Happy to call in and help. You always have to keep an eye on those cheaters."
Not bad. And then,
Not bad.
Right?
look,
And then a link to the article where somebody did call it in, which I don't know if that's
the article didn't name the viewer who did it.
I don't know if he called it in or he was like watching the blotter so closely that he knew that someone called it in, and so he linked to that.
What do you
article.
think?
There's no way that he ended up calling it in, but
To watch it that closely and
to
really
watch that closely, come
send
on,
out that
come-
tweet.
If
Did he
you
need to
really
send out
just
that
like,
tweet?
you need to just take a long weekend away from
Lindsay and
from-
everyone.
Yeah, you need to just get go to Palm Springs and don't turn on the TV. Like take a hike.
Right.
You know, just like get out there.
Look, I think he's got a sense of humor. Obviously, it wasn't enough to keep Lindsay
Yeah.
Vonn, so we know that much about him.
It was not that, that didn't really work. But, I mean, if he was piggybacking on somebody else going after, why? Why would he do this?
Yeah.
She's not coming back. She's not coming back to you. She has the last name, but she's not coming back.
Do you think that somewhere in him he was like, I'll just fire off this hilarious tweet and she'll be mine?
She'll be mine.
She will return to me.
He's got to.
A part of him felt that, even
A
though
part of him
another
felt
part
that.
knew that was irrational.
Yeah.
He's like, I've got to do this.
Well, now it's clear to me that she left him.
Or yes, and how does he actually think that there are two sides, like that people care about both sides of this relationship? Like people only care about the Lindsey Vonn side. Like nobody's looking around being like, what does her ex-husband have to say about this issue?
Well, here's again. Now you dig back in the relationship. So they were married in 2010. She then won, or 2000 and I can't remember.
they were divorced in 2011, and now it's finalized in 2000. Maybe they met
In 2010, she won the gold medal. The highest he's ever placed is 9th.
I think at that
Okay.
moment she was like,
I
here
see
we
where
go.
I see where the ceiling for this guy is.
He's 9th. He's 9th. I'm 1.
His tweet was the equivalent of like a 2 a.m. weeping voicemail,
Drunk.
Yeah.
drunk voicemail message like "I screwed up, honey.
I love
I
you.
want you. I love you.
Let's work it out.
I'm
want you back.
internalizing this. I don't know if I can make a good joke. I think I'm internalizing this man's
What,
pain.
you're feeling his pain too
I think
deeply?
I'm feeling his pain.
Look, I am too. Look, he definitely came out on the bad end of the stick.
They're
Yeah.
And by the way, Tiger's definitely dating. I mean, if you don't believe me, check out the carefully corporately worded Facebook statement and the stiff photos of him. Like there were these weird photos that were
Of Lindsey Vonn and Tiger Woods, like they look like they were taken at Sears. Did you see those?
No, I haven't seen those.
It's crazy uncomfortable.
So he has to know that they're there. Like to me, and he's a downhill skier. Like if it's a classic example. Like if you're slaloming down and you miss a gate, you don't stop and then go back up and hit the gate and go back down. No, you move on and you keep going
and you just try and get a better run going.
until
He's not learning his own lessons.
No.
He should know this.
Of all people.
you go as fast as you can until you die. That's
Yes.
life. That's
Yeah,
life.
that's
that should be
life.
life. All right, finally, we have an uplifting story from the NFL Combine this past February. It just came to light this week.
2 unidentified players had trashed their hotel room at the Crown Plaza in Indianapolis during the Combine.
Not really a story.
On their own. They're big dudes. They're college age. They're predisposed to trash things.
Yeah.
They're football players. They're designed to destroy
Yeah.
things.
You can't just turn that off.
Yeah.
No.
You can't just turn that off.
Except here's the thing. Here's where it's a story. They went for it in the worst, creepiest way ever.
They didn't break anything, so no material damage.
But people with hazmat suits had to go in there and
Hose it down.
all right, 2 players, and now I want to know who it is.
Can we speculate who it? I'm assuming both these guys are like the Raiders have found their 1 and 2
Yeah.
draft picks. For
They're going to
2000.
trade up and then draft these guys who nobody
Of
wants.
course they are. So here's what these guys did. They smeared urine and feces all over the bathroom. You know, the way people who aren't 12-year-old boys would do when given free reign of a hotel room.
Even if I was 12 years old,
You
I
wouldn't
would
do
look
that.
at. I wouldn't do that.
There's no way, and you know that happened right as they were about to check out.
I don't know that you can
Yeah.
smear urine. So that feels like
That
a
could just be-
smear
Spray-
camp.
they
Spray
spray
urine
urine,
and smeared feces.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and just say that the urine was an accident.
How how hardcore would it have been if they did that right when they arrived?
Because you know they kind of did it pre-check.
They just had to live in it.
Yeah. Be like, yeah, it's
Be like,
on.
It's wartime, y'all.
Before we check in, can we just check out the room? We just want to make sure it's kind of up to our standards.
Boom, smeared it. Combine. Yeah, we about to combine the bathroom and the living room, bitch.
Then they smeared
Smear.
toothpaste all over the mirror, which doesn't seem so bad. I mean, to me, that would be like the minty balance to
Yeah.
the feces that's all
Well, that's
over
like when
the-
someone tries to glade over a shit in the bathroom, and you're like, well, now it just smells like pine needles and shit. That you haven't created a better situation here. You've just combined 2 awful smells.
So garbage was then strewn about the room, and then half-eaten food was on the bed, smeared all over the bed.
Okay.
Which I'm guessing.
Which, by the way, the half-eaten food over the bed is nothing. Once you smear feces
Yeah.
on the wall, you can do anything else, and it's going to pale in comparison.
Yeah, and I'll even give them the benefit of the doubt. They got tired. They were eating. They got tired. They left the to-go containers in the bed. They rolled around a little bit. I'm going to give these guys the
I
benefit of the doubt.
love how much benefit you're giving
Yeah.
these.
No, but to me, I imagine it that it's wings. And I'm going to say this about wings. Wings, they're inappropriate.
Which is the ultimate sporting food.
Yeah, we just talked to a guy from Buffalo. All right, so here's the deal with wings. I was watching the NCAA tournament at a sports bar, the final game at Barney's Beanery here in LA with two friends of mine, and I watched someone eat wings sitting at another table nearby me. It is a human being using their teeth to rip flesh off of a bone with sauce dripping down their face.
Yeah.
No one can do it cleanly. That is inappropriate in any setting. It's so...
Now imagine a guy in a fat, sweaty guy in an open robe.
Who just had smeared feces over the room. Imagine him doing that in a bed.
He's just taking the blanket and
Yeah.
wiping his hands
That's
on it.
the blanket.
The world is my towel.
Yeah.
The world is my towel.
Look, it makes you never want to sit on anything in a hotel ever again, a story like this.
And if you're in a motel, frickin' levitate. That's where you got to take that.
You know how people always talk about they bring their own black lights into hotels?
Yes.
And motels? You ever-
Why?
Yes.
Why
Why
would you
even
do
do
that?
that?
Why do
Honestly,
that?
what are you gonna see? I just always am like I'm gonna see nothing because the entire thing is covered in semen.
It's
Like
just
Right,
everything
yes.
has
It's
semen
all
on it.
covered. We had a joke in New York, like if you can see it,
It's been peed on.
Yeah.
it used to be if you could touch it, it's been peed on. But now I would even go so far as to say if you can see it. Same thing. If there's semen on it. If you're in a motel, there's semen on it.
If you're in a motel, there's semen on it.
Here's the last part of the story that I love. The agents of the two players have gone into full denial mode.
They were contacted by a ton of teams, Rand, and they denied that their clients were involved. The way any good agent should. They're already cleaning up messes.
literally and figuratively.
They're cleaning up the
Bess
messes.
was one of the agents who, when pressed for the name of his client, refused to give it up, claiming, "You're messing with a guy's life."
In other words, if their name was revealed, then their draft stock would go down, and then they would lose millions and millions of dollars.
Due to this behavior.
Yeah.
Do you think Jerry Jones would actually take that into account? Do you think he would be like, well, we can't take him because he smeared some shit on him?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but
I
it's
don't want
like I
that.
love the agents putting it on the teams. Like, how dare you ask what a guy has done? How dare you expect him to be responsible for something that he actually did?
How dare you demand the truth?
That is so unfair. It's just look, it's good
You know
agency.
who loves it? Manti Te'o.
Yeah.
It like
Yep.
takes
That's
the
heat off of my
spotlight
ass.
of
Yep.
him. He's like, I didn't smear any shit on the wall.
Well, what if the two guys were Manti Te'o and just
and his boyfriend.
and his boyfriend, or just like some imaginary person, like he just wrote another name in the ledger.
So it's just him.
It's just Manti Te'o.
That's it. Like,
and the
he's trying
agent's
to-
not giving the name because they're like, I can't fucking come on, dude.
We've just topped ourselves.
I'll tell you what
yeah.
that is. That is my wife at our Ivanhoe School spring fiesta was bidding on items, and she had drank so much that she started bidding against herself.
She jacked her own price
She
up.
jacked her own price. That's what Manti Te'o would effectively be doing, bidding against himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And against his career. That's it. That's quick hits.
There's quick hits. I love that.
Coming back after the break.
Let's do a little break here.
We're going to take a little break, and will you stick around? We're going to have a Racist Vin Scully on the
Absolutely.
show. Tim Simons is with us from the fantastic show Veep. Follow him, Timothy C. Simons, on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. We're at Sklarbrothers. Who is this, Jay?
This is some French guy who I don't know, and the
Oh, I
song
love
is
the French.
Aline. I love the French. I can listen to French rock and French.
You know
pop
why?
music.
Because they respect us so much.
They really
That's
do.
why I love it. When we come back, Racist Vin Scully, Sklarbro Country, 144 live, VPN streaming. Stay with us. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Sklarbro Country, episode 144. We're here with Timothy Simons.
Hi.
Do you go by Timothy or Tim?
Either is fine.
Either's
When I
like-
like being formal, I like saying Timothy.
When your
Timothy.
mom was yelling at you,
Yeah.
It was Timothy.
Yeah.
Would she do Timothy?
Timothy C.
She
what's the
would
C?
actually. My mom comes from sort of like a long line of
Yelling.
Irish women,
Yellers.
of Irish yellers, and she would do this thing. I would get her so mad that she started making up Irish middle names, and so I ultimately became Timothy Charles Michael O'Reilly Patrick Sullivan Simons. That was my name when she would yell it out.
And as a parent, I totally get that.
Yeah.
She's just looking for like a handle for
By
her
the way,
anger.
I have, when yelling at my kids, have named people not in our family. Like, I have two girls, and I think I yelled at my kids, and I yelled at a Jeff at one point. Like, how I don't even know a
because
Jeff.
because
Daisy,
Jeff, all you're trying to do is
Jeff.
not hit the kids.
Yeah.
Just like,
And if you could just let that anger latch on to names.
that's how pissed off your mom was at you, because it was just like every anger went
So, but
into
give her
another,
credit. Give her.
another middle
She's
name.
fighting the
She's
urge to
fighting
do
the
what
urge
she
to
wants
hit
to
me.
do, which is backhand a child.
I never got that until I had kids, and it really is. It's an amazing thing. It's like, oh, you're so beautiful. And the fuck are you doing?
Wait
Oh, dude, just wait until they're older and they
yours are like only a year and a half. Like wait
Yeah.
until they're like old enough to like pull stuff
and say no to you and like be defiant and tell you that they hate you and like start doing other. Then you're like, ooh, it's go time.
It's go time.
It's go time.
And speaking of it being go time, we promised him it is baseball season. Let's get Racist Vin Scully on the phone.
It's
Vin
that
Scully
time.
is
It's that time of year again. I mean,
It seems odd that he would call himself racist.
Vin Scully. I know that he would name himself that, but he's the voice of Dodgers baseball.
Yeah.
He's a true broadcasting legend.
Hello?
Yeah, Racist Vin
Vin
Scully.
Scully.
Thank you for coming back on Sklarbro Country. How you doing? Welcome back.
No, thank you, gentlemen. Anywhere there's a microphone and a modicum of reverence for the great national pastime that we all know and love, it's my pleasure to be present, wherever that place may be.
Well, that's actually a wonderful sentiment.
Yes,
Except of course, any of the surrounding neighborhoods near Dodger Stadium.
Okay,
In which case I stay in my limo safely ensconced behind the tinted panes that separate me from the agitated locals.
All right.
Agitated
Or
locals.
locos, as it were.
Okay. All right. Are you talking about the population of East LA right now?
Well, I'm not an anthropologist, but if that's what they're called, the population, fine. Then I'll take your word for it. All I know is that when I see a paunchy fellow on a corner with a metal cart yelling about fresh coconuts, I tell my driver to step on it.
Okay, all right. That seems a little extreme, especially considering that the area has some of the Dodgers' best fans.
I mean, you think about their fans. You've been to a Dodgers game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of the fans.
I thought you were speaking to me. I've been to all the Dodger games.
I'm sorry. I was talking to our guest, Tim Simons. who's
That's
with us.
confusing. I can't see him. Where is he?
He's
right here.
He's right
He's
here.
sitting right with
He's a wonderful gentleman. You would love
And
him.
I'm here. Good to know you, whoever you may be.
Oh, it's nice to know you too.
Well,
Have you ever had a coconut?
Well, I've had the kind you buy in the grocery store that have been checked by the Food and Drug Administration.
All right.
Not by someone named Jaime that I've never met before.
All right.
Okay, did not go down that road. But they're maybe more loyal, some of these Dodgers fans, than most Los Angelinos.
Los Angelinos. Listen to you. Don't go pushing your bilingo agenda on me, fellas. I speak the Queen's English, always have, always will.
All right, well, English is...
It derives from Latin. If we have to really break down.
Jay, let's move on. Let's move on. All right, we got a lot to
Yeah,
talk
I know. E pluribus unum.
All right, fine.
Great.
We have a lot to
Carpe diem.
Let's talk about the shoulder injury of Dodger pitcher Zach Greinke. I saw the pitch. I saw the fight with Carlos Quentin. Kind of amazing
Yeah,
stuff.
well, you mean, Carlos Quentin. You mean Carlos San Quentin, right?
No, Carlos
Well, that's
Quentin.
where he should be after that complete. That was a criminal act.
How is
He
it?
should be there with his childhood compadre.
Okay, but didn't Greinke throw at him? Didn't Greinke throw at him? Am I wrong to say that
He
threw
did
at him?
throw at him, so he
That
instigated.
was self-defense. Take the blinders off, gentlemen. He did, and when he did, he saw in those murky, mocha-colored eyes the danger, gentlemen, that lurked beneath the unpredictability of a cornered bull looking to gouge his matador.
Okay, well,
Olay.
all right, we'll agree to disagree on this, okay? Let's just agree to disagree.
Well, that's fine. Just as we'll disagree about what happened 2,013 years and 3 weeks ago, give or take, but that's your business and eternal souls, not mine.
You're referring to the Jews murdering Jesus. That's what you're trying to say, as Jews?
Again, you say things that I only think for other people.
Okay.
You give word to it. I didn't say that. I simply said it's your business.
Okay,
you know business. You're business people.
All right. Listen, let's move on to a subject.
I'll mind mine while you tend to yours.
Okay, all right. Listen, let's move on.
One nickel at a time.
All right. Let's move on to a different subject. It's a feel-good subject. Everybody's talking about the movie 42.
Came out. It was #1 in the box office.
You started announcing for the Dodgers just a couple of seasons after Jackie Robinson was brought in by Branch Rickey.
I did indeed.
What do you think
so
about the
far,
film?
everything you said is factually accurate. I'm waiting for the slip-up.
Well, no. What do you think about the film coming out? I mean, what's your opinion on it? Of course, I want to get your opinion.
Oh, well, listen, in terms of my opinion, I have one question. Why is it so focused on the Jackie story? I mean, we all know that story. Like we know the story of the lady on the bus, Mrs. King. It should be
That's not
the
Mrs.
Branch-
King. Rosa Parks. That's fine.
Well, again, potatoes.
Okay.
It should be Branch Rickey. That's the compelling tale, gentlemen.
Really? You mean the story of a rich, middle-aged white guy who hired some...
This
hired
guy
him is more compelling than
the
Jackie?
guy who broke the color barrier. That's more compelling story.
Well, first of all, hold it right there. I wouldn't say that he broke the color. He wasn't the first player of color. I mean, did you ever see DiMaggio after mid-July? He was as brown as the glove on his hand.
All right.
I often questioned him about that and his true lineage and whether his mother had traveled to Cameroon before his birth. He denied it.
All right.
He denied it, just as you're denying Branch his rightful place in history.
I'm not denying that he was important.
He was
It's blasphemy.
But Jackie Robinson opened the door for thousands of players of all ethnicities that now fill the league.
For decades to come after him, really. You have to give it up.
Don't remind me. And by the way, I'm just waiting for you to take the other Lord's name in vain, that being the blessed Saint Steve Garvey. Will you trounce on him too?
Yes, I would
I
actually.
definitely would.
I would.
Oh, my goodness. Look, you talk about ethnicities that came in the decades. I've got no problem with that. It's the names that bother me the most. I'm the one that had to say Hiroki Kuroda dozens of times on the air, not you, until he was mercifully traded.
Wait, you didn't care for Hiroki Kuroda? Seemed like a nice
let's
guy.
just say I'm glad that Branch Rickey didn't have to live and hear his good name mangled into Blanche Lickey.
All right.
Okay, that's
all
it.
right. That's
enough.
it.
Mr. Scully, will you interview me? I so most certainly will not. You drop bombs on my friends.
Okay. All
right.
right. We got it. That's there it
no
is.
need.
All right. We've got
Thank you, Racist Vin Scully, for once again showing us why you really earn your name. Good luck with the Dodgers this year.
Jesus.
Try to keep
Why do we keep letting him in? We know he's
don't
going to get there.
understand.
We know he's going to get to the racist point.
Racist Vin Scully. Wow.
Farmer John's, gentlemen.
All right.
Farmer John's.
All right,
you, buddy.
fantastic. Well, that's a show right there.
There's a show.
I'm not trying to excuse his racism, but you really are culpable for giving him a pulpit.
His name is Racist Vin Scully.
And I also
Yeah.
think it's better to hear it out loud in a public forum as opposed to just hearing it, the hushed underneath, because then we can
Right.
attack it in
Yes.
different ways.
Okay.
Try and
You're
disarm
shining
it.
light on it.
Shining light on
Yeah.
it. Shining a light on it. Guys, this is a show.
We took calls. We had Tim Simons here. We had Racist Vin Scully. I love
Veep
doing
is
this.
on, and a new season's on. Check out the. They probably are replaying the episode this week. But,
Yeah. And it's on HBO Go.
It's on HBO Go.
First season on DVD too, I think. I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah.
So get up on
Pick
that.
that, guys. It's one of my favorite and one of the funniest shows. It kind of like took what they were trying to do with K Street and like blew it way out of the water.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
They're just like, okay, we'll go as fast as that, but then we'll add jokes and we'll put funny people in it.
But watch him. He's a fantastic character, Jonah on Veep. So that's every Sunday night at 10. Follow him on Twitter, Timothy C. Simons.
Yep.
At Timothy C. Simons on Twitter. And
Come see us. Come see us live and let us know that you're coming there. We're going to do another one of these VPNs next month. We'll take more calls. I love it. This is so much fun. Thank you to these guys. Great camera ops. Great guys running the show out here.
Frank on
our
the sound. Follow at Chris Cox Vox as well. Thank you to Chris Cox. And we will be back next week. We've got Tammy Sager, the great Tammy Sager, who's a writer for one of the best improvisers ever, writer for 30 Rock. We've got her on Sklarbro County. And then next Friday, Paul Dooley, the father from 16 Candles, the father from Breaking Away. Great improviser. He
from
was
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Just an amazing
Second City. You're going to love him.
amazing guy. He's there on. We'll have him next week, and then we'll see you guys live one in Toronto. Love it. Punch Waterfalls. We are the Sklar Brothers. This is Sklarbro Country. Thanks for listening.